Well, hello everybody. This is Green Bean, and this is the Jets pod. You see, last week I called it the beanbag, and it is still the beanbag, but I just couldn't ignore this idea that green beans come in pods, and I'm Green Bean, and this is a podcast. I couldn't get past it. So here we are for episode number 2, and we're calling it the Jets pod. So that's the way it is for today. How are you? I hope you're doing great. We had a killer Monday night, 10 o'clock mock last night. I am really grateful for all the support that I'm getting. I'm grateful for all you guys that attend and contribute. It is a great time. So I will ask you at the beginning of this pod to like, subscribe. You can find this podcast pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. Google Pods, Spotify, PodSource, PodNet, all those places. We're waiting on confirmation from Apple Podcasts, but that is merely a formality. But like, subscribe on YouTube. Please, head over to my social media sites where you can hang out and see all the shenanigans we get into there. On Twitter, I am Bean the Jetsfan, and on Instagram, I am Green Bean the Jetsfan. So with that said, all the house cleaning is now done, and I would like to talk to you guys about something very special today. It is official. The Jets have lost out on the potential to gain the number 1 pick in the draft. And we were, for 13, 14 weeks of this NFL season, we thought this was a very real possibility. And denying our knowledge of the way that the Jets will break our hearts, we chose to believe it, that it was possible. And it's over. The dream is over, my Jets fan friends. I'm not happy about it. But like I shared last week, I allowed myself to believe. I did. I really did. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Jets are beating 2 consecutive playoff teams. The Rams in the playoffs fighting for the division. The Cleveland Browns, pretty much, it was assumed that they would be in the playoffs. And we put a serious stick in their spokes right now. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But this is a week of celebration. It's more than just losing out on a pick. This is a very good week for us. And I'll give you a couple of reasons. One is the idea of going 0-16. It's not easy to do, guys. So the fact that we allowed ourselves to believe that, it's really on us. It's only happened 2 times in the history of the NFL for a reason. It's hard. It's harder than going 1-15. It's harder than going 10-6. It's harder than going 14-2. More teams have gone 14-2 than have gone 0-16. This is just the fact of it. So the idea that the Jets were going to somehow pull this off, it's not easy to do. We were close, but no cigar. And it's just one of those things, man. It's like, we tried, but who are we going to get mad at? Who are we mad at? All the Jets fans are pissed off. I was pissed off. It was more brokenhearted than anything. You hear that crazy-ass bird? That was a little bit alarming, actually. But who are we going to get mad at? Like I said, this is a hard thing to accomplish, and we were fully expecting this to happen and to get the creme de la creme of all quarterback prospects, Mr. Trevor Lawrence. We thought this was going to be real. But again, we were counting on something that just about never happens in the NFL to happen. Going 0-16 is so hard. Only 2 teams have ever done it. So that's gone. But the interesting thing for me is that somewhere middle of the game against the Cleveland Browns, I started to have a shift. Now, I don't like many players. I don't like many teams. I don't like any teams, really. The only way that I root for anything in the NFL is how it affects the Jets. So even if the Jets are out of the playoffs and everything, if it can hurt a division opponent, that's what I root for. If it can make somebody look bad that I don't like, that's what I root for. I root against. That's pretty much all I know how to do. I can't root for anything that's not Jets. It's just one of those things. Yes, every year I pick a team in the Super Bowl. It used to be all AFC when the AFC couldn't win a Super Bowl for 20 years there, or whatever that was. I don't really know how to root for anything. It's always against. And it has to do with how it's going to impact and affect the Jets, our reputation, our ego, our decisions. That's how I root for anything. And one of the teams I happen to hate the most in this NFL is none other than the Browns of Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns, the dumbest name in the entire NFL as far as I'm concerned. The lamest uniforms in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. People try to tell me it's pure, it's this, it's nothing. It's an orange helmet. I don't even like the color orange. The color orange has to be one of my least favorite colors, just from the get. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, you throw the color brown on it. Yay. We have brown and orange with no logo. Their logo is the color orange. And every now and then they try to throw a dog in there or something like that. You're not dogs. I mean, the Dog Pound, who I have respect for that group of fans, but, you know, it's not a dog. So I don't know what they're doing. That's how bad it really is. The fans are trying to create something. They have bones in their mouths and all this kinds of stuff just to try to create some sort of identity for the team that's logo is the color orange and as a backup the color brown. But I have a particular reason to hate this team. Now, obviously I hate all of our division opponents. That just is what it is. And then I hate the New York Giants because of, you know, the crosstown baloney. I was in high school during the 1986, 1990 dominant Giants teams. And I didn't get treated very well as a Jets fan in high school. I mean, I was predominantly Giants fans, and us Jets fans had to stick together, and we got ridiculed constantly, so I hate the Giants for that reason. I hate some other teams like Dallas. Why? Because they were good for so long. Why do I hate the Redskins, now the Washington football team? Because they were good for so long. You know, why do I hate the Raiders? Because they're all, the Raiders fans think they're something. They're Chucky masks and Darth Vader helmets. Screw them. That's how I see it, man. That's the kind of fan I am. I am a Jets fan. I am a Jets fan. True, through and through, tried and true. That's what I was going for there. And through thick and thin, that's who I am. But so one year, well, let me just add this last thing. But as an entity, I respect and love the National Football League. I don't like a lot of the decisions they're making these days. I love the National Football League. So when the Cleveland Browns, of all teams, when their owner, Mr. Art Modell, decided to take the Cleveland Browns from Cleveland and bring them to Baltimore. He tried to steal the name, too, because like we just went through, it's clearly the greatest name in the world. But the city of Cleveland fought to retain their identity. Okay, you're going to take the actual team? Well, you at least have to leave us our identity. It's like that Tina Turner with Ike Turner thing. She said, you can have everything, but I'm keeping my name. So, and it's important. So, even though I don't really like the team and everything at this point, I did feel for the fans, and I thought, if they can take a team from Cleveland, they can take a team from anywhere. So I didn't like it. I was bent out of shape. I was all on board with whatever we could do as fans to let the NFL know that we weren't cool with this. I was on board. The Browns went to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Ravens. And when a couple of years went by and they came, the Cleveland Browns, very similar to an expansion team, was reintroduced to the league. That was a big deal for me and my football fan friends at the time. We were all very supportive of the idea of Cleveland getting their damn team back because I thought it was bullshit that they took it from them, right? So when they came back to the NFL, we wanted to show that the NFL fans from across the country and from other teams support you. So it just so happened that one of my very close friends at the time got an executive level position with the Cleveland Browns. He was like the #1 executive in tickets and marketing and all that kind of stuff. So he was able to get us tickets. He asked us where we wanted to sit. And we said we want to sit in the Dog Pound. So he got us tickets got us like 10 tickets to go to Cleveland, the first game that they came back to the NFL. So we were going to go back to the game and sit in the Dog Pound, and we had a big sign that said, "Welcome back, Cleveland." So I was, there were 2 Jets fans there. I was wearing my Keyshawn Johnson jersey at the time. This was, if you remember, this was opening day 1999. There's not something, you might know that date for a reason, and I'll get there for a minute, in a minute. we rented a camper, like a motorhome, a big, huge 42-foot bounder camper. And so we had 2 Jets fans, we had a Dallas fan, we had a Steelers fan, we had a Giants fan, and who else did we have? Maybe an Eagles fan. So there was a big batch of us. We all wore our jerseys, and we went to Cleveland to welcome them back to the NFL, hold up a big sign, welcome back Cleveland, with a whole bunch of fans in their different jerseys. And we thought it would be a statement. I hope to get on TV and all that kind of stuff too. That was in there, but the truth is I wanted to bond with the Cleveland, the Cleveland faithful. So we go out there and we do all this stuff. We get into the game. That day we went to a bar to watch the 1999 Vinny Testaverde-led Jets. And if you remember, that was the year every NFL analyst said, this is the Jets' year. They're the best team in the NFL. Bill Parcells as the coach. We just signed Steve Atwater to go with our AFC Championship team from the year before, 1998. And Vinny Testaverde blew out his Achilles in the opening quarter of that game, I think it was, and you know the rest. I was brokenhearted. Vinny Testaverde went down and looked like our season was out the window from the first game, and it was heartbreaking. And everywhere I went, Cleveland Browns fans took great joy in poking at me, telling me Vinny sucks, Jets suck, all that kind of stuff. That's how the day started. Now we finally go to the game, and we're all there. We got our sign, but the entire time, Cleveland, it was lost on them what we were doing there. The one guy had a Pittsburgh jersey, and they were playing Pittsburgh, so they were throwing shit at him. The other guy had a Giants, a Dallas Cowboy. They were throwing shit at him. In the game, they wouldn't stop with the Vinny Testaverde stuff. Remember, we're there trying to welcome them back, and if we tried to talk to people like, hey man, we're just happy you're back in the NFL. Fuck you. This is how they were. So Cleveland gets blown out in that game, and we're drinking and everything, and we got obviously very drunk, and we're walking out of the stadium, and this group of 5 or 6 guys is following us, and they wanna fight. This is what they're saying: we'll kick your ass. You shouldn't be here. You're not wanted here. All this kinds of stuff. So they follow us all the way down the escalator, walk around the stadium, and outside. These guys are following us. Now, other fans are taking great joy in this, these Cleveland fans being tough. They're going to shake these guys up from other teams, and they're going to get them out of here. So there were, no exaggeration, dozens and dozens of people that were laughing, and they were throwing pretzels and just all kinds of shit at us. So I tell this guy, they start cutting us off and stuff. They start running up ahead and trying to get in our way. I said to the guy, listen, man, I'm just going to tell you right now, we don't want anything to do with this fight. We don't want anything to do with this, okay? We don't want to do it. We came here to welcome you back to the NFL, and you're being an asshole. Just chill out and let us get out of here. We're going to leave. And I told the guy, quite frankly, if you make this happen, you're not going to like the results, okay? He didn't care. So eventually they cut us off. They have a whole bunch of people now. There's just so many people. There's a crowd, they're making a circle around us. And my friend is so drunk, the Pittsburgh fan, that we're just walking, and I got it it's like we're married. We're elbowed, I'm carrying him in our elbows are locked, and we're walking, and I just shake. He's walking, but he's just got his eyes closed. He's just trusting me wherever I bring him. So I tell these guys, cut the shit. They don't want to do it. They circle us, and I shake my friend and say, hey, we're fighting. And my friend looks up, the guy runs at him, and my friend knocks him clean out. Just from a drunken haze, just stands up and boom, and knocks him out. Mayhem ensues. The fight, it was so brutal, but these guys, they just kept coming. It was like a Die Hard movie. They just kept coming, and they were so bad at fighting. I don't know why they insisted on doing this. We were just kicking the hell out of them. So it got to a point, I'm wearing a Keyshawn jersey, right, where I got separated from my group, and there's all kinds of little scuffles all over the place. I'm scared for my life because there's all these people tearing at my jersey just from everywhere I look. So I climb up on this concrete pylon. Now I'm about, I'd say 5 or 6 feet in the air. And I'm screaming to this crowd of people, I didn't want to fight. And they're screaming, get up, kill him. So I see this cop. I see cops on the, and I'm like, oh, yo, come over here. I think I'm going to get killed. So I wave the cop over. The crowd's yelling, get him, the guy in the Keyshawn jersey. Oh, blah, blah. And there's guys laying all over the place. We beat the living hell out of these guys. It was really not even a contest. I have no idea why they were so into this fighting idea, because they were really very, very poorly trained for this, or poorly prepared. So the cop comes, I wave him over. The fans of Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns fans are all so happy. The cops are taking me. They're still like pulling my hair. They're ripped my shirts, my clothes are all ripped. And the cop takes me out and they're cheering. Get him, take him to jail. The cop takes me back into the stadium, and we're just sitting there. The people are outside when you walk into a stadium, there's like a whole glass wall and doors and everything, and people can see in. And they're like, they wanted to kill me. So he just sits there. He's on his phone. He's on his walkie-talkie, and I'm just sitting there with my hands cuffed for like a half an hour. The crowd subsides. Everybody leaves, and the officer comes over, unlocks my handcuffs, and starts walking away. And I said to him, excuse me, what's going on? And he said, what, do you want to put the handcuffs back on? I said, not particularly, but I'd like to know what the plan is. And he said, well, I'm going to go home, so you can do whatever you want. So I just tentatively tiptoed outside and I went back to the camper, and all my friends were there, and it was crazy. They thought I had gotten arrested. But since that day, I have liked the Cleveland Browns significantly less than I did before. And I just want to say, man, I just think the whole group of them, they don't get it. They're an old classic, historic football franchise and all that stuff. And I thought that the fans of that city I thought it was going to be a great thing, and be an opportunity to connect with, another team's fans on a very deep level. They wouldn't let it. They would not let it happen. They would not allow it to happen. So here's what I have to say. Fuck the Cleveland Browns. How's that grab you? And that leads me to my point, which is around halfway through the game, I started thinking to myself, it would be really sweet to knock them out of the playoffs. Now, granted, I was rooting for the loss because I would rather have Trevor Lawrence than the little moral victory for the day. But if it's going to go down this way, if we're going to lose out, I couldn't think of a better way for it to happen than us knocking the Cleveland Browns out of the playoffs. Now, we didn't knock them out officially. They still have a shot next week. They play Pittsburgh, and the Colts have to lose to the Jaguars, who have zero intention of winning, and the Colts are playing for their playoff lives. So I think they're going to stomp the Jaguars pretty good, and Cleveland will go home. And I think that's pretty neat that we got to do that. Silver lining for you. So that is good news. Now, the real good news of this week, guys, is we have it on pretty good authority, and like I reported last week, it's not my source, but we've known for the past couple weeks that it's all but official that Adam Gase is going to be fired as the head coach of the New York Jets. And let me tell you something, I could not be happier. I can't find one fan that thought that was a good idea the day it happened. Now, I know there are guys that have come and tried to, and they've supported him. I supported him too. Once he's the coach, of course, I want him to be great. But I was miserable the day that it happened. Most of the fans that I know, and I know a lot of them, I'm on Jetnation. There are thousands of us on there. And I'm telling you, there was not one person that was like, yeah, this is the guy I wanted. Not one. Now, we knew it was going to be a bad idea. We knew that he wasn't going to be a good influence on Sam Darnold. Look at Ryan Tannehill. But we knew right then that there was a very strong likelihood that Adam Gase was going to be a monumental failure, and that Sam Darnold was going to have to overcome this to be a competent quarterback in the NFL. So the big news is this for this week. So the minute we Hired him, we knew it was a bad move. The press conference, we got confirmation that this is a bad move. Then he didn't hire a quarterback coach, and he chose to bring Dowell Loggins, who won't be an offensive coordinator anywhere else except next to Adam Gase. He brought him on as the offensive coordinator, and we knew Sam Darnold, a 21-year-old raw kid, is going to have to overcome all these obstacles to be able to do anything. He's not going to be developed, and we see the results. We knew this. We talked about it then. We knew what was going to happen. So, Jet Nation, prepare yourself. We are about to begin the after Adam Gase era. But that's not even the best news. The best news is this. The moment Adam Gase is fired, which will be Sunday evening, the New York Jets ownership, namely Woody Johnson and Chris Johnson, are going to hand the keys over to the guy who should have the keys, Mr. Joe Douglas, the first actual GM that we've had since Dick Steinberg. Now, yes, Bill Parcells was in there. He did some nice things, notably the 2000 draft when he was able to acquire 4 first-round picks. In my opinion, he did a good job with those four first-round picks. And then in the third, we got Lavernius Coles. That was a good draft. But other than that, Bill Parcells had a hard time in the draft and personnel decisions. We don't got to get into it. Mike Tannenbaum was an accountant. Sure, he did some nice things, able to build some teams, but Mike was a firm believer in selling the future to benefit today, and you saw where that ended up. Idzik. And then we get Mike McCagnon, who was honestly even worse than Idzik. He was supposed to be a football guy, but he wasn't. Now, Joe Douglas, when he's handed the keys, we're going to be handing the keys to a guy who spent 15 years in the Baltimore Ravens organization. 15 years under Ozzie Newsome, okay? Probably the best GM over the past 2 decades or so, okay? He followed that by getting hired by the Chicago Bears. For 1 year, he was the director of college scouting for the Chicago Bears. 1 year in that position, and Howie Roseman called Joe Douglas and gave him a promotion to vice president of player personnel. And he did a very good job for the Eagles there. Joe Douglas is the first guy who was groomed to be a GM in our GM position since Dick Steinberg in the early 90s, okay? So let's talk about Joe Douglas. There are some people that say Joe Douglas hasn't proven anything as a GM, and will even go as far to say that they think the moves that he has made are not good, not panning out, not working. So I respect everybody's opinion. Of course, I respect Jets fans' opinions above all others. So I want to just go through this and we can talk about the reality of our feelings. As we know, feelings aren't facts, okay? I have my feelings. You have your feelings. That doesn't mean that they're facts, okay? So Joe Douglas got hired June 7th, 2019. Currently, as a recording of this is December 30th, 2020. So that gives us just over 18 months that this guy has been our GM. Now, it's not even as good as it sounds because 18 months is not a long time. The beginning of his tenure, as you know, was right after free agency and the draft for 2019 when Mike McCagnon was given one more opportunity to completely blow a draft. Hopefully Quinnen Williams continues his upward trajectory. I think that would be great, but he was not the pick to make that day. Every Jets fan knows this. So Joe Douglas is here 18 months, guys. We cannot expect to be going into the Super Bowl yet. It's not real. You can think that, but it's not real. It's not going to happen, okay, in reality. So the first thing Joe Douglas has to do when he comes aboard is to assess his team. As we know, 5 drafts of Mike Maccagnan filled with hot garbage and free agent contracts that were so hard to get out of. Joe Douglas's attention had to go there. Do you think he did a good job undoing the Quincy Enunwa contract, who was given an injury guarantee while he was on injured reserve? This is the kind of stuff we were watching. Okay, how about the C.J. Mosley contract, $17 million a year? Almost all, I think $55 million is guaranteed. How about Le'Veon Bell, $13.2 million a year? How about Henry Anderson making a big fat $11 million a year for his 1 sack or 2 sacks a year? Okay, yes, the first year he did okay, but he's not the guy you throw $11 million at. And these contracts go on and on. What about Trumaine Johnson? You think Trumaine Johnson panned out? He was one of the highest paid cornerbacks in NFL history when he got the contract. Dude, Trumaine Johnson did nothing for us, okay? And then you start adding draft picks like Jamal Adams, who the impact of Jamal Adams, you can love him all you want, but the impact on the field is negligible, man. It's minimal. Okay, we know this. The guy literally can't catch, and he gets a few sacks a year. The last year he was with us in 2019. You see that? Look at this. I'm getting water dumped on me. Yeah. That's how it goes, living on the road. So he got, I think it was 6.5 sacks. One of the best sack seasons for a defensive back in NFL history. 6.5 sacks. That's great. Congratulations. You do realize that 5 of those sacks came in 2 games against rookie quarterbacks with terrible offensive lines. So where was he the other 15 games? Now, he was injured 1 game, right, against Baltimore. So where was he the other 14 games or 13 games? Where was he? What did he do? So that's the thing we have to look at. Sorry to get, I digress a little bit there. But so these are the things Joe Douglas had to take care of, okay? Now let's take a look at his moves. He comes on board, and we have a second-year Sam Darnold, 21 years old, youngest quarterback to ever start an NFL game. Sam Darnold at 20 years old the year before. He has no offensive line to speak of. None. There's nobody here. The best opportunity we had was Kelechi Osemele, and we know how that worked out, $10 million a year. Actually, one of Maccagnan's better trades, quite frankly. But we know how that worked out. It didn't. So what does Joe Douglas do? The cupboards are bare, and there's no options out there. You can't do anything. So he spends some time coercing a previous Pro Bowl, numerous years consecutive Pro Bowl center in Ryan Khalil. Talks him out of retirement. Now, did it work? No, it didn't work. But you don't appreciate that kind of effort? You don't appreciate what he was able to accomplish? Ryan Khalil retired a few months earlier. If anybody was going to be able to continue, he was as good a shot as anybody. The swing was a great swing. It didn't work, but you got to appreciate the swing and what he was able to put together. The other thing he did right when he first got here was the Baltimore Ravens were looking to get rid of Alex Lewis. He gave him a 7th-round pick, a conditional 7th-round pick for Alex Lewis, and we got basically a whole year of starting from him if you combine the 2 years. Now, is he great? No, he's not great. Alex Lewis is going to be a decent reserve, in my opinion. But a 7th-round pick being able to be your starting guard for a few years. And don't forget, the first 5 games of the 2020 season, Alex Lewis was the best interior lineman we had. Okay, so he fell off, and then he's injured and all that. But the guy, for a 7th-round pick, especially when there were no options, bringing in Ryan Khalil and getting Alex Lewis over here are very, very strong. They're strong and solid moves by Joe Douglas, okay? So what else does he do? He takes a guy who Mike Maccagnan picked as a #1 pick when we had Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, and Snacks Harrison on the defensive line. He decides to take a defensive tackle or defensive end with his first pick because everybody said he was the best tackle or best player in the draft. So that's Mike Maccagnan's first pick. It helped him get the Executive of the Year award that year. So making this a little bit quicker, he trades Leo Williams, who was undeniably underperforming, for a 3rd and a 4th round pick, which could and would eventually become a 5th-round pick. So he gets 2 picks for a guy that, let me just break it to you, the Jets were going to have no interest in giving $15 to $20 million a year. That's what he's getting for the Giants. He's having a great year. As far as Leonard Williams is concerned, it's a contract year. He's going to get his money. He wants $20 million a year. I'm grateful that the Jets aren't even in that conversation. I'll take the 3rd-round pick, which was Ashton Davis, and I'll take the 5th-round pick this year and see what Joe Douglas does with that. So that Leo Williams trade, I'll have you know, broke a mindset for the Jets that every GM we've had just understood was part of the accepted mindset of the Jets. We don't trade with the New York Giants. That's not what we do. We don't trade with the New York Giants. Joe Douglas is here less than a year, and he goes, yes, we do, because they want to give me a 3rd and a 5th for Leonard Williams, and I don't want Leonard Williams because he's underperforming, and I don't think he's the guy I want to give $15 million to. So he gets a 3rd and a 5th from the only team that was offering it, the Giants, and he took it. That breaks like a 30-year hiatus between the Jets and Giants working together on any sort of trade. I don't even remember the last one. If you know what that is, let me know. Let me know in the comments and such. So what does Joe Douglas do right after breaking that hiatus of working with the other team? He trades with the Patriots. First time since at least Bill Belichick was there, and it was a few years before that we did anything with the New England Patriots outside of steal their coach and steal Curtis Martin and them steal Belichick and all that kind of stuff. So he gets Demaryius Thomas for a 6th-round pick. Why did he do that? Because Mike McCagnon didn't give him any damn wide receivers to work with, and we were having the injury bug. So he's got to get Sam Darnold something. So he gives a 6th-round pick for a guy that Adam Gase wanted, he worked with before, was one of the better receivers in the league in an earlier day. So he brings over Demaryius Thomas for a 6th-round pick, which breaks another hiatus of trading with the New England Patriots. So the Giants and Patriots being off limits for us, out the window within Joe Douglas's first 90 days or so. Now, these are things I want you to take a look at, okay? It's not so much the moves themselves. It's where and how Joe Douglas is willing to do things. We've never seen anything like this before. Talking guys out of retirement that have, really boom or bust potential. It busted. So what? But it's being able to do it. It's undoing the contracts like Trumaine Johnson, Quincy Enunwa, Le'Veon Bell, and so on and so on and so on. It's getting rid of these guys. Andre Roberts for $9 million a year. He said, get the fuck out of here. That's what he's, get out of here with this. And then Andre Roberts has the nerve to call fans, real fans or not, because he sucks. So there's another thing. Joe Douglas bounced his ass too. So, but you look, and he's going to teams like the Patriots and the Giants because they're the ones that are willing to trade with us. And he did it. Now, he also took a 6th-round pick and gave it to the Colts for another huge hole on our team, knowing what Trumaine Johnson was going to be like. We only had Andre Roberts, and we had some rookies, Perry Nickerson and Clark and those types of guys. So he gives a conditional 6th-round pick to the Colts, and he gets a veteran corner, Nate Hairston, who started well, ended up fizzling. But again, these are good moves for what they are when they're happening. There's nothing available. He's making these things happen. Generally speaking, our GM would either overpay for somebody to come here, give them $5-6 million a year more than their market value, the Jets tax as we call it, or he would give somebody way higher draft value than their worth as well, trying to get things done. Joe Douglas didn't do any of that, and he still was able to get veterans in here and take a shot when the cupboards were absolutely bare. So the good news with Nate Hairston, it was a conditional 6th-round pick. So when it started to look like Nate Hairston wasn't going to work out, they bench him, so he doesn't have to give the 6th-round pick up. That 6th-round pick was re-awarded to us later in the following offseason, so that gave us 2 6th-round picks. And Joe Douglas flipped that 6th-round pick for another veteran cornerback. Again, the guy didn't really work out, but he's trying to bring in veterans when we don't have any. He didn't have the time to bring in his own young guys. Didn't have the time to build his own team. So he's trying to get vets in here. You gotta love the mindset here. If you don't, you're not paying attention. He took 1 6th-round pick and turned it into 2 veteran cornerbacks. So let's move to draft day. Now, look, I'm going to be real square with you. I get why people aren't blown away by the moves I just outlined. I get it. I'm not blown away by them either. But you have to look at the scenario surrounding moves. You have to look at what's going on. Joe Douglas came into the building and they said, here's a huge 4-foot pile of horse shit. Can you take this toothbrush and make this place smell pretty? That's what they did. Big pile of crap in the middle of the room. Here's a toothbrush. Make the office clean, squeaky. Okay? So how's he going to do that? So these are the things that you look at. The guy's first wave of moves in the NFL as a GM. So that brings us to the draft. Now, the draft is interesting because people are now saying Mekhi Becton was a gimme pick. It was easy. That wasn't an easy pick. Don't forget, just a few months earlier, Mekhi Becton was considered to be a second-round pick. So he was the biggest boom or bust left tackle in the entire draft. Guys like Andrew Thomas, Wills, and Tristan Wirfs were looked at as much safer picks. If that came before Mike McCagnon, that decision came, and it was Wirfs or Becton, bet your ass on it, we would have Wirfs. The truth is we wouldn't have either one, but if it came down to those two guys, we wouldn't have Mekhi Becton. So Joe Douglas showed a sack, his first ever, and by sack I mean testicles, not what Jamal Adams claims makes him a $20 million a year player. Joe Douglas shows that he has some gumption, some gusto, and he says, I'm taking the 6'7", 370-pound left tackle because I like the way he destroys people. So he brings in Mekhi Becton with his first ever pick. It's a left tackle, reminiscent of Mangini, when the last batch of good drafts we ever had was when Mangini's first year in 2006, his first pick ever was DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and he followed that with Nick Mangold. Not too shabby. So what does Joe Douglas do? He's sitting at 48. Everybody knows he wants a receiver. Denzel Mims is sitting there. Chase Claypool is sitting there. Van Jefferson is sitting there. Joe Douglas accepts a trade from the Seattle Seahawks for pick 101 and 59. So he moves back 11 spots. Gains pick 101 for it. And he takes Denzel Mims. But here's the beautiful piece of that trade. And by the way, it was ESPN rated it the fourth strongest trade in the entire draft. Okay, so this is, Jets fans say, it's easy, but believe me, places like ESPN and other analyst organizations, they know how risky of a trade that really was. But it's not a risk if you actually pay attention and know what other teams' draft boards are like and what their tendencies are. So that was a calculated risk. Sure, it could have blown up on him, but it didn't. He got the guy that he wanted most overall out of the wide receiver crop there, and he got a first-round talent in Denzel Mims, but gained pick 101, which he then took that exact pick and traded it to the Patriots for picks 121, 125, and guess what else? The 6th-round pick that he traded the year before to the Patriots for Demaryius Thomas, got that exact pick back. So essentially, he borrowed Demaryius Thomas from the Patriots for a year free of charge. That's the stuff that we're talking about. 2 cornerbacks for 1 6th-round pick. Demaryius Thomas for no 6th-round pick. The New England Patriots trade with Joe Douglas made was identified and labeled the 5th strongest trade in the entire draft. So Joe Douglas has the 4th and 5th strongest trades in the entire draft in his first draft. What does he do? He takes LaMichael Pirine and James Morgan with those picks. Now, James Morgan is still the pick that I like least. A lot of us don't like that pick, but I wanted you to see the lineage of how we got there. Pick 101 didn't exist. He took pick 101 and made it into pick 121, 125, and his 6th-round pick next year. That gives him the leeway, the breathing room to do some things that he wasn't able to do with the initial 8 picks that he had. Okay, so when he takes LaMichael Pirine, who's going to be on our team for a long time, he's not Derrick Henry or anything like that. He's just a workhorse back. It's a guy you want on your team. And he's going to be here for a long time. So he gets his backup quarterback, which, again, I hate the pick, but I understand the mentality behind the pick. getting the 6th round pick that we gave in Demaryius Thomas it is the jewel, it is the golden nugget, it is the frosting on the cake. And so then we get to that where he traded the 6th round pick for Quincy Wilson and brought in a veteran cornerback. In truth, I think there were other guys in the draft I would have rather seen him go for. But I understand the logic. He's trying to get in veterans to mix in with the young batch of players that he's bringing in. So this year, Joe Douglas just pulled off a bunch of trades this year, small-time trades. Number one, let's talk about Le'Veon Bell. He cuts Le'Veon Bell. Tried to trade him, but the contract was so bad. This is the thing. This is what he was dealt. The fact that he couldn't trade Le'Veon Bell for a 2023 7th round pick, the fact that he couldn't do that, get anything for him, shows you exactly how bad the contract was that he was dealt, that he was handed by Mike Maccagnan, okay? Couldn't get anything for Le'Veon Bell. So he cuts him, gets the money off the books. That's all he could do. He takes Jordan Willis in a 2021 7th round pick, and he makes it into a 2022 6th round pick. Then he takes Steve McClendon, one of the leaders of the team. Now, these are all pieces of the tank, guys. I want to make sure you understand that. Joe Douglas can't outwardly say that he's going to tank, but what he is going to do, he's going to get rid of players like Steve McClendon, like leaders of the team. He's going to say, you know what, here's a solid... go down to Tampa Bay. So he traded Steve McClendon and a 7th round pick in 2023 for a 2021 6th round pick. Not bad. Then he takes Avery Williamson, our best linebacker on the field. Even though he's kind of a shell of what he used to be, it's still our best linebacker. So he takes our best linebacker and a 2022 7th, and he makes it into a 2022 5th round pick. So let's talk about mindset, reputation, okay? Again, it's not so easy to just look at the free agent acquisitions, look at the draft picks and all that sort of stuff and label him one thing or another. You have to remember, and you have to. Oh, it's excuses. It's not excuses, man. These are scenarios that are applicable when you're judging somebody on the job that they've done. I already outlined all the contracts and shitty players that he had to get rid of, that he was stuck in terrible contracts. Le'Veon Bell's contract is the best example. Couldn't even get a 7th round pick 5 years down the road because nobody was willing to take on that contract, okay? But you look at something else. The Jets were known, the Jets' reputation in the league, out among the agents, the players' agents, the other GMs, coaches, ownership in the league, the Jets were known as one thing: leverage. People would use the Jets to either get more money than they're going to get anywhere else, a la CJ Mosley, $5 million more than his market value per year, or like Kirk Cousins did, and this happens numerous times, Reggie Nelson. I mean, the list is so long. The team would say they would use the Jets, negotiate with the Jets to get more money so they could get a little bump in pay from the organization that they're actually planning to sign with. The Kirk Cousins example is beautiful because Kirk Cousins used the Jets. We were offering him $90 million a year. We were offering Kirk Cousins $90 million a year. He got the Vikings to raise the price, and he took $4 million a year less to go to them. Then he had never had any intention to come into the Jets, but he used us. Joe Douglas had to undo that. In one season, one draft, one offseason, Joe Douglas effectively crushed that outlook toward the Jets, that reputation. How did he do that? One, he didn't go out and give Jadeveon Clowney $20 million a year. He didn't go out and give Jack Conklin $15 million a year. He didn't do that with anybody. He said, no, here's my market value, here's what I'm willing to give, and we're not going to be a negotiating chip for agents. And he crushed that entire mindset when it comes to the Jets in one offseason. There were reports coming out all over the place. Joe Douglas is not playing. Joe Douglas is the different GM than the Jets have ever had. The problem Well, let's give you some of the good things. So he got Jordan Jenkins, who everybody thought he was going to get anywhere from $8 to $10 million a year for 4 years. He was coming off a career high on sacks and all that. Joe Douglas said, I'll give you $3.5 million. And he took it. Brian Poole. Who didn't think Brian Poole was going to sign a $6 to $8 million contract? Huh? Who? For 3, 4, 5 years. Everybody thought that. Brian Poole comes back for a 1 year, $5 million contract. So these are where Joe Douglas's mindset can benefit you. Mike McCagnon would have given Jordan Jenkins $10 million a year for 4 years, and you know damn well everybody would have thought it was a good move. It's good. He deserved it. Mike McCagnon would have absolutely done that. Joe Douglas said no, and he got him for 3.5. The problem with it is that when you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Okay, so Robbie Anderson, we lost Robbie Anderson for that mindset. So it's not all going to work. It's not all going to work, but having to change the overall outlook on the Jets, the reputation of the Jets, is more important than one player. Okay, it just is. Everybody who knows me knows I was a big fan of keeping Robbie. I love an undrafted free agent coming through the ranks and earning a spot, earning a big contract. There's nothing that makes me happier when it's on the Jets. Nothing makes me happier than homegrown talent, especially late rounds, undrafted free agents, being able to come in and be solid starter contributors. I love it. I wanted Robbie Anderson, but he got swallowed in the melee. Joe Douglas openly admitted he wishes he had that one to do over again. But you got to look at the mindset that enabled us, that really caused us to lose Robbie Anderson. It's paramount for us moving forward as New York Jets fans and as an organization that he stops this madness of paying the Jets tax, teams using us, players using us to negotiate against, or just to get their last big-ass payday. Like CJ Mosley, we've given him, what, $30 million already? He's played a quarter and a half for us. Not his fault necessarily, but that's the kind of stuff. It's why you don't do that. So Joe Douglas is going to be given the keys to our Jets kingdom. The ownership is not going to let him hire a coach or require him to have the coach report to them. They're going to be reporting to Joe Douglas. This is what we all wanted, Jets Nation. This is what we wanted. We wanted an actual GM to pick his coach, to develop his team, and that's what we're going to get. Everything I just outlined should help you to understand why it is that you should be psyched about this. We're getting rid of the Adam Gase era. Ding dong, the witch is dead. He's gone. But even more importantly, the team is being handed to an actual GM with a great reputation in the league, just one of the finest pedigrees you can compile. His front office staff is second to none, top tier. Savage, Chad Alexander, and Rex Hogan. Dude, these guys are top notch. We are finally in good hands. Finally in good hands. And you should be as happy as I am. You have any questions? Give me a call. Give me a comment. I will apologize. This one's a little bit more random than I'd like. I'm all over the place. Yesterday was a travel day. Left Fort Lauderdale. I came up to Orlando. That's where I'll be for the next couple of weeks. And it's been a tough one. But I'm really happy to be creating these podcasts for you, with you. I look forward to your comments. Please like and subscribe. You can find the podcast wherever podcasts are, except Apple this week. Next week I'll have Apple. I feel strongly about that. But I love having you. Let's get the conversation started. Don't forget to go over to Jetnation.com. That forum is bursting at the seams right now. If you want to talk Jets, there's no place better to do it. And thanks for watching, everybody. Cleveland Browns suck. I'm happy they're going to be out of the playoffs via the sword of the Jets. Adam Gase is gone. Dower Loggains gone. All these guys are gone. I can't take it. I'm so happy. But the number one reason I'm happy is Joe Douglas is going to be the king of the Jets kingdom. It's the best news we've received in a decade. Take that and smoke it.